Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. My name is Brandon Tankott, and I'll be your host for another one of our exciting webinars with Dr. Demartini. Great. Before we get started and while we wait for everybody to come into the room, we like to give a little bit of time for everyone to come in. If you could just put in, you'll see to the right-hand side a chat box. If you could just put in your name and where you're from, we'd love to see where you're from and be able to engage with you. Hi, Deborah from Australia. Hi, Fis from Johannesburg. Hi, Gail from Cape Town. I see we've got people from all over the world. We've got Cecilia from Sweden. We've got Christian. Hi, Christian. From Romania, Sue from the UK, Melissa from Colorado, and more people streaming in every second. We've got Junaded from Pakistan and Karabo from South Africa, Santon, around the corner from where we are. Thank you very much, everybody. Once again, I'm going to introduce you to the webinar topic, Discovering and Awakening Your Hidden Power to Achieve. So thank you, everybody, for attending. We're going to run through the logistics quickly for the webinar. The webinar will run for about an hour to an hour and a half. And I am going to tell you up front at the end of the webinar, we're going to give you an offer to sign up and participate in Dr. Demartini's a 2-day workshop, the Breakthrough Experience. Of course, this is not compulsory that you sign up for the 2-day workshop, and the information in this webinar is absolutely free, but we want you to know upfront because we value your time. Also, you should definitely take and make sure you have a pen and paper ready and take notes. You never know when you're going to get that jewel and that bit of wisdom that you want to write down and keep with you. Also, so you know that we will be shutting down the comments section for the duration of the webinar so that you're not distracted and that you can focus on the presentation. So as I said, my name is Brandon Tankott. I'm an entrepreneur, business owner, and also a husband and young father of a beautiful 5-year-old son, currently living in Johannesburg, South Africa. And it's an honor and a privilege to host you for this exciting webinar and to introduce you to our presenter, Dr. Demartini. Dr. Demartini is considered one of the world's leading authorities of human behavior and personal development. He is the founder of the Demartini Institute, a private research and education organization with a curriculum of over 72 different courses covering multiple aspects of human development. His trademark methodologies, the Demartini method and the Demartini value determination, are culmination of 44 years of cross-disciplinary research and study. His work has been incorporated into human development industries across the world. Dr. Demartini travels 360 days a year to countries all over the globe, sharing his research and findings in all markets and sectors. He is an author of 40 books and is published in over 29 different languages. He has produced over 60 CDs and DVDs covering subjects such as personal development and relationships, wealth, education, and business. Each program is designed to assist people to activate leadership and empower themselves in all 7 areas of their lives: financial, physical, mental, vocational, spiritual, family, and social. Dr. Demartini, are you with us?
I am.
Yes, thank you very much for joining us. Right, we've been presented with some amazing questions that the audience and the Dr. Demartini has collated for us. So I'm going to jump straight into those. Are you ready to get into the questions, Dr. Demartini?
Yes, I am. I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic. So the first question we have here, if you ask people, most will tell you that they are aiming to achieve at high levels. Would you say that certain types of people are more likely to achieve success than others? And if so, what is it that differentiates them from people who don't achieve much?
Well, achievement we're all capable of doing extraordinary things. I really have difficulty wanting to label somebody as this will be a high achiever, this won't be, because I found that that's like labeling people and putting them in a box. My experience is that human beings, because they have a set of priorities, a set of values, things that are most important, least important in their life that they live their life by, anytime an individual sets a goal or an intention that is aligned and congruent with what they value most, they have a higher probability of achievement. Their self-worth goes up, their vision of what is possible for them expands, and they tend to spontaneously take action to achieve. So everyone has an inner achiever, an inner leader, waiting, many times dormant inside, but it's awakened the moment we set congruent goals, ones that are truly inspiring and meaningful to us. Because in our highest value, we spontaneously are inspired to act within, and we persevere and we don't stop. We just keep going and we don't give up on our goals. But if a person is unclear what they are, or compare themselves to others, put people on pedestals, inject other values into their life, cloud their own clarity of their own highest values, distract themselves with outer essentials that they think they've got to do to please people, live in shoulds and ought tos and supposed tos and got tos and have tos and must by outer world injections. They will dilute their potential and they will decrease the probability of being an achiever. So I believe that every human being has that capacity, because I've seen people in my program, The Breakthrough Experience, which I've been doing now 29 plus years now. I've seen people that have been labeled low achievers, unmotivated, undriven, playing small, all kind of labels. And what we do is we find out what their life truly demonstrates by doing value determination, truly demonstrates is important to them, structure their life according to what they really value, and quit comparing themselves to others and living in the shadows of others and trying to be somebody they're not, and give themselves permission to go after what's really demonstrated is important to them. And they start unfolding that natural leader and that achiever inside. So there's the distinction between the achievers and the non-achievers is not so much the individual as it is whether they're congruent or not, and whether they know what's really important or not, and whether they give themselves permission to live according to what's priority in their own life and try to not be somebody they're not. Authenticity and integrity and leadership and achievements to go together. But so many people compare themselves to others, inject those values of other people, cloud the clarity of what's important to them, try to be somebody they're not, try to set goals that they're not, trying to be a fish when trying to climb a tree as a fish, or trying to swim as a cat, instead of actually honor what they are and set goals that are congruent, or shift their values into something they say they want to achieve. There's either one of those I show in the Breakthrough Experience. But unless there's a congruency, unless there's a clarity on what's really important to them, the probability of them getting to see that they're a high achiever and recognize it inside themselves is less. And so many times we spend all our energy trying to please the world on the outside instead of serve the world on the outside. There's a difference. Subordinating to the world on the outside is different than serving the world by doing something that is meaningful and inspiring from within in a way that fills other people's needs. It's a difference between that and just subordinating and minimizing ourselves at the expense of the world around us and playing small and a follower. So I'm a firm believer that you have a leader inside. You have an achiever inside. It's about you becoming congruent, about knowing what truly is valuable to you, and quit trying to be somebody you're not. That's the key.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. What exercises do you suggest are a high priority for someone who wants to set themselves up to achieve in the important areas of your lives? Can you go into a little bit more detail as to why you've selected each of the exercises and how they can go about working those at home?
Well, the first exercise is to do an honest, introspective, reflective investigation of who and what you are by looking at what your values are. On my website, drdemartini.com, many of you already know about it, and if you don't, please go online and go on and look up the value determination. When you get off this webinar, go on the value determination and fill it in. And there's 13 questions. It'll take you about 30 or 40 minutes. There's 13 questions, and it's very important to answer these questions authentically, not putting down what you think it should be or what you think it ought to be or what you wish it would be or what it used to be, but to answer the questions based on what your life demonstrates. Your actions speak louder than your words. What you live every day is more important than what you think you're living every day. So you got to go and look carefully and answer these questions very precisely to determine what your life is demonstrating is really valuable to you and what you're committed to. Because nobody's committed to a company when they go to work. They're committed to the fulfillment of their values. If they can see how what's going on in their life is helping fulfill it, they liven up and they become engaged and inspired, and they're more creative. So we first have to start. The first exercise is getting clear about what your values are. Now, I know I say that in almost every seminar because that's the cornerstone of all behavior. If you want to achieve something great in your life, you have to be congruent with what's truly meaningful, or you will not have the vitality and the clarity and the energy and the executive functions inside your brain active to help you achieve. So first exercise is go online, do the value determination, And the way it is set up online is you can do it, you can store it, it's private, no one will see it, but do it, sit on it. Look at it again tomorrow and do it again. And make sure and do it as if it's separate, like the second time you do it. And be honest with those answers. And make sure you look at what those answers really represent. When it asks you, how do you fill your space? What is really the most common things that you fill and surround yourself in your space? And what do they really represent? And what's the meaning of them? And really get down concise and take a look at what's important to you. And if the answers that keep coming up on this questionnaire, the ones that are most frequent, are in the direction of what you value most versus least. And knowing what that is the first step. Because if you don't know what's really important to you, you're going to set goals that are incongruent with that. You're going to wonder why you're drained, why you're scattered, why you can't stay focused, why you give up, why you feel like a failure, why you self-depreciate, these types of things. So, because until you set goals that are congruent, you are designed to self-depreciate. And that's not how to live your life in a self-depreciated mode, but that's what's going to happen if you don't set objectives that are aligned and congruent with what you value most. So first, determine what you value. Once that's been established, and I would encourage you to do it 1, 2, or 3 times and look at it. And then from now on, every quarter, go online and do that again and store it and look at the volatilities of it and look at the changes in it and look at what's the common threads in it. It'll give you a real clear idea if you honestly answer it, putting in what you wish it would be. Do not put in your fantasies or the ideologies of the people around you, the peer pressure, the religious guidance you've had, the authorities you've had. Just be honest with your life. Go and look at your life objectively. That tells you what's important. I have people in the breakthrough experience every weekend that say, you know, I don't know what my purpose is in life, which is an expression of your highest value. And I look at it, I ask them, what do they spend their day doing that's inspiring to them, that they spontaneously do, that nobody has to remind them to do? And they go, well, I spend time with my kids, or I go to work all day, or I do this. Their life revolves around what they value. And even if they say, well, I don't like my job, they wouldn't be going there and spending 14 hours a day if there wasn't something in that job that was meaningful. And that may be that it's a financial secure pathway. It may be a door of opportunity. It may be learning a skill. Whatever it is, you want to find out what that is, because that's really what the value is, that's the reason why they're doing it. So determining what the values are is first. Doing it again and again so you get my real confirmation on it. Keeping current with it, that's exercise number 1. The second exercise is once you know what that is, then it's wise to ask yourself a very simple question that I learned from 2 people in different ways. One was Mary Kay from Mary Kay Cosmetic Company, who I had the opportunity to spend time with. She said that every day, ask yourself, what are the 6 or 7 highest priority actions you can do today that can help you fulfill this highest value, this thing that's most meaningful, your purpose in life. And it's wise to get clear and concise and write what it is you feel is your dominant motive, your chief aim, your absolute purpose statement that you want to dedicate your energies to, whatever that is. And there's no right and wrong about it. It's not here to be compared to somebody else in the world. It's you. But ask yourself, what are the 6 or 7 highest priority actions I can do today to help me do that? And write them down. Or you can go one step further and go to what Gary Keller says in his One Thing. And that ask yourself, what is the absolute one top highest priority action I can be doing right now, today, that can help me fulfill this mission, this meaningful, purposeful, highest priority action that I'm committed to? If you stay on the highest priorities or the highest priority, it's impossible for you not to expand and feel more confident. Because anytime you're doing the ABCs, not the XYZs of priorities, you automatically grow your self-worth, you automatically achieve more, you automatically gain momentum, you incrementally keep expanding, you automatically affect the executive center and see vision, tend to strategically plan and think it out with foresight, you tend to make actions on it, you tend to have more self-governance and more discipline to achieve. So sticking to highest priority things. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your day is designed by entropy to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. And the low priority distractions that don't are feedback mechanisms to guide you back to what is priority. Everything that's going on in your life is trying to get you back to what's priority. It's all on the way, not in the way if it's interpreted properly. So after you've determined what your values are and determining what the top one is and determining what your real purpose or chief aim or primary objective is, the thing you feel is your calling in life, then ask yourself, what are the highest priority actions or highest priority action I can do right now and throughout the day that I can do it? If you do one at a time, and when you finish that one, and make sure these are not long-term actions that take weeks or months or days. I want daily actions, the highest priority daily action you can do that day, right then, on the spot, and take action on. And then the second you finish it, ask yourself, what is the next highest priority action that I can do today that can help me fulfill my highest priority? Or if you do the 7, keep it to 7 actions that you're committed to that day. Don't sit there and stack up things you say you're committed to and stack them up with this big checklist and overwhelm yourself and feel goal overrun and feel beat up at the end of the day because you never get everything done. Stick to the highest priorities and keep focusing on what's really most important. Again, if you stick to the ABCs, you grow in self-worth. If you allow the XYZs, you lower your self-worth. Once you have that and you're clear about what those actions are, keep inventory and record of what they are to find out what are the priorities of the priorities. Because over time, you'll see that there are certain priorities of priorities that keep standing out. This is the key to be able to surround yourself with people around you that you can delegate other things to and get to the thing that's really most productive and most meaningful in your daily life. If you do that, you're automatically going to increase your achievement level. Then you want to make sure, again, and number 3, you want to make sure you delegate everything possible that is not the most inspiring thing. Because if you're bogging yourself down with low priority things that dilute your power, your productivity, your power of making income, your achievement feelings, you're just diluting yourself. So don't sit and distract yourself with low priority actions. Surround yourself with people that can help you. And that forces you to go out and serve people in a way that earns an income to pay for that. But if you're not making a difference in serving people in a way that earns an income, you won't have the income to be able to delegate. You'll be trapped doing lower priority things which devalue you and lower your achievement level. Achievement is done automatically, the way the universe is beautifully set up, through other people. Helping them get what they want helps you get what you want. And it helps the economy by engaging people and delegating things to other people so they can get inspired to do what they love doing. And don't surround yourself with people that don't want to do the things you want to delegate, or you'll end up micromanaging them, distracting yourself, and having to go back to do the lower priority things. Stick to the people, find them. You may have to go through a few people till you find them, but surround yourself with people that would absolutely love to do the things that need to be done, but are not by you. There are things that are lower on priority to you, but higher priority to them, and that so you can get on with the things that are most meaningful, productive, profitable, fulfilling, achieving, and you can sit down at the end of the day, you can be thankful. Because when you're grateful, you get more to be grateful for. The next thing is to metric it and make sure that you're getting feedback on a daily basis on what you're doing so you can get the feedback and make sure you refine it. Because anytime if you're in a competitive world, you're going to have to be more effective and efficient than people doing those things. So stick to the priorities and do it effectively and metric it and document what you're doing to keep refining it to make sure it's more effective and efficient. I tell people in the breakthrough experience, and I go over these 5 things. Make sure you know what exactly you would love to do in life. How do you get handsomely, beautifully paid to do it? What are the highest priority actions to help you go and do it? What obstacles you might run into, and how do you solve them in advance? What worked and what didn't work today? How do you do it more effectively and efficiently? And how did, no matter what happened today, help you fulfill your mission? If you go in that way and do those exercises on a daily basis, it's impossible for you not to grow. And so if you want to achieve, it takes prioritization to achieve and being clear about what it is you're doing. Your vitality in life is directly proportionate to the vividness of your vision, and your vision becomes clearer to the degree that you're congruent with your highest value. You can literally feel and sense the executive center of the brain, the forebrain, come online the second you're congruent. You'll feel lighter, you'll feel more released, you'll feel inspired, you'll spontaneously want to act. You won't need motivation. In fact, if you need motivation, you're doing lower priority things, but you'll automatically feel like you're doing your calling. So those are the exercises that I would initiate right off the bat. They're the formula for all the great achievers.
Thank you, Demartini. I'd really urge the audience to take and do those 4 exercises. Some people believe in predestination, that you're either born to be successful or that you're not. What is your take on predestination versus human will in the pursuit of higher achievement?
I love that question. I've been curious about that question since I was in my 20s, and I addressed that. And so I have to develop that. I don't know if I can answer that really quickly. I have to develop that. So you might, if you're listening, you may have to get a pen and paper out on this one for sure. So let me develop it in steps. So first of all, we've all had moments when we have, well, each of us have a set of values. And anytime we are going through life and we run into somebody that supports our values, we tend to put them up on a pedestal. We can become infatuated with them and admire them and put them up. Anytime somebody challenges our values and we resent them and withdraw from them, we can put them down and kind of resent them. So anytime we put people above us or below us and not equal with us, we automatically have them occupy space and time in our mind. So anything you infatuate with, anything you resent, occupies space and time in your mind and runs your mind and is stored in the subconscious mind as noise because we have an incomplete. We're not seeing things as they are. Because the truth of you is that you're not nice or mean or kind or cruel. You're always a combination of pairs of opposites. So anytime we label somebody more looking up to them, we're ignoring the downsides. And if we're looking down on them, we're ignoring the upsides. If we see both sides, we get to see them in their fullness and who they are. And everybody wants to be loved for who they are, including yourself. So the second you see somebody that you infatuate with or resent, you're only seeing half the equation. You're conscious of the things that support or challenge your values and unconscious of things that challenge or support your values. And you're not seeing things as they are. And whenever you infatuate with somebody, you want to change you relative to them. You want to sacrifice you for them, kind of altruistically. Whenever you resent somebody, you want to sacrifice them for you, narcissistically. So whenever you're doing that, you're in bondage because they occupy space and time in your mind to run you. You don't really have a freed will. You're literally an automaton reacting to the misperceptions you projected onto other people. And in the process of doing it, we tend to seek the infatuated and try to avoid the resented. And so we're literally on an animal kind of seeking one side and avoiding the other side, like seeking prey and avoiding predator. The Buddha says the desire for that which is not available and the desire to avoid that which is unavoidable is the source of human suffering. So we're striving for something that's not real, and we're also trying to avoid something that's not real because we're not seeing both sides of it. If we looked in both sides and saw both sides, we would not be seeking or avoiding, we'd be present with it. So the second we infatuate or resentful somebody, and we try to seek it or avoid it, it runs us. We're not running us. And we're not really free. Again, we're trying to change us relative to others, others relative to us, and it's futile. If you've ever been in a relationship and tried to change you relative to others and live in their values, you find eventually it's futile. Maybe you can do it for a few weeks, but you can't sustain it. Anytime you try to change others to match your values, again, it's futile. You can do it for a few weeks, but it's non-sustainable. So the truth is, you can only live according to your own values because every decision, perception, and action you take is based on it, and same for other people. So if you really want true free will, you have to bring your mind into equilibrium, into equanimity, relative to other people. You have to have equity between you and them and equanimity inside you. Because if you infatuate with others, you tend to minimize yourself, shame. When you resent other people, you tend to exaggerate yourself, pride, and you don't have equanimity. You have this polarization, and you're exaggerating or minimizing yourself. But when you're in equanimity, and you have equity between you and these other people, and the seer, the seeing, and the seen are the same, and you don't see a difference between them and you, now you have no desire to change you relative to them, no desire to change them relative to you, and the way things are, as they are, within you and others, needs no changing. You're poised, you're present, you're purposeful, you're patient, you're inspired, you feel love and gratitude for this person. In that moment, your will and the way it is, we could call divine will or predestination, matches. So true free will and true predestination only occur at the same moment in a state of equanimity. If not, you're attempting to change things on the outer world, and you're striving for that which you're infatuated with, trying to avoid that which you resent, having futility because you can't get a one-sided world. No one has one side. Nobody's worth putting on pedestals or putting with pits, but everybody's worth putting in hearts. But the second you love somebody, the second you're in equanimity, The second you're poised, not poisoned, your will and the way it is, there's nothing to change. Human will now matches divine will. Necessity now matches contingency. You're now having determinism matching indeterminism. They're both the same. In this moment, the paradox of free will and predestination is dissolved. But as long as we're in judgment, as long as we're in the animal immanent mind, as I call it, or Immanuel Kant describes, and we're looking up or down at people instead of looking at reflections, and we have deflective awareness, because we infatuate, we disown, we're too humble to admit what we see in them is inside us. When we're resentful, we're too proud to admit what we see in them is inside us. And we have deflections and disowned parts and incompletions. And I say that the second you love somebody and you have equanimity and you're poised and you see reflections, as Schopenhauer says, we become our true self, the soul, to the degree that we make everyone else ourselves. The second we have that, free will and predestination are one. Because you're freed and your will now matches what's actually there. There's nothing to fix, nothing to change in you or other people. And that's a very graced, very loving, very fulfilling, very poised, very soulful state. So that paradox is only solved in that state.
Thank you, Martini, and it's a beautiful way to explain it. There are many people who are material in nature and who find the spiritual side of things a bit off-putting, and there are ones that are more spiritual. Quest for success or achievement shouldn't be a priority, and it actually gets in the way of their spirituality. Could you share your thoughts regarding these two polarized ideas?
Well, this is a bit of a carryover from what I just answered, so I'll just build from there. So to me, what I just led to, where human will and predestination or divine will, some people call it, match, is the most inspired spiritual state. Almost all spiritual religious traditions have led people or trying to lead people to that state, that transcendental state, where we're not judging. The ancients used to see the judgment. Thomas Aquinas, taking from Aristotle's geological and meteorological studies, saw the underworlds down on the earth, where the animals and our animal senses live, is the underworlds where we have judgment and trial. And the celestial worlds, the higher worlds, if you will, the heavenly worlds, the sky, were the places for the celestial, were the harmonious and unconditional. So we tend to think of this as higher spiritual and lower material worlds, but in fact, they're inseparable. And the reason I say that is because in a state of equanimity, when you're in perfect equilibrium, and you're inspired, and you're poised, and you're graceful, and you feel love, and you have nothing to change in you relative to others or others relative to you, you're just in that state of grace. In that moment, you are actually in the most powerful state economically. In other words, if you exaggerate yourself and puff yourself, let's say you infatuate with somebody and minimize yourself and become altruistic to them and try to sacrifice for them. If you're in business, the transactions you do, financial transactions, you'll sacrifice on the negotiation table and give away profits. If you exaggerate yourself and minimize them, narcissistically, you'll project your values on them and try to get them to live in your values, and you'll assume you know better than they do. Whenever you think you know more of what the customer wants than the customer, you usually end up falling and getting humbled humorously, and you have pride before the fall. So if you exaggerate yourself, that undermines business and economic exchange, transactions. And if you minimize yourself, that also undermines it. One, altruistically, you sacrifice your profits. The other, narcissistically, nobody wants to buy from you because you're not meeting their needs. But if you bring those into equanimity again, where those are in perfect equilibrium and you have equity between you and them, and you're trying to help them get what they want as much as you're trying to get what you want, you find a caring relationship. If you look down on them, you have care less. If you look up, you have a careful. But if you look across, you have a caring relationship. That caring relationship, that equity theory, if you study equity theory, go online, look at it, is what every human being is attempting to maintain. You have a built-in thermostat automatically inside you to get to that. That's why if I came up to you and I said, you're always nice, you're never mean, you're always kind, you're never cruel, you're always giving, you're never taking, you'd kind of go, not exactly. Or if I said, you're always mean, you're never nice, you're always cruel, you're never kind, you're always taking, never giving, you're always mean, you're always a negative without positive, you wouldn't believe me. But if I said, sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're mean, sometimes you're kind, sometimes you're cruel, sometimes you're positive, sometimes negative, sometimes you're generous, sometimes stingy, sometimes you're narcissistic, sometimes you're altruistic, you'd immediately know that's true. So the truth of our nature, ours and the people we do business with, is that they have both, and they want that, and they have a homeostat to try to get them to center. So every time we have equanimity, we have the highest probability of being authentic. It's more likely where we're living in our highest values, where we have more objectivity in the executive center. We're more likely to have fair exchange that's sustainable in business. Because if you go and try to take advantage of somebody, they don't want to do business with you again. If you give up and altruistically give away your profits, you don't want to do business with again. But if you have fair exchange and equanimity, you automatically have inequity, you automatically have sustainable fair exchange, and you both want to do business again. So to maximize material profits, financial material, you have to have spiritual equanimity. So I've said in my book, How to Make One Hell of a Profit and Still Get to Heaven, how important it is to transcend the illusion that somehow spirituality and materiality are separate. They're not. If you want to have an inspired state, if you want to have material wealth, there's absolutely no reason why you can't have that. I want you to have that. I love helping people do that. I'm absolutely certain that can be done. But people have sometimes injected the values of traditions and authorities, sometimes religious in nature, that somehow those are conflicting. And then if you're spiritual, you're not designed to be material. This is absolutely erroneous. In fact, I was recently in Sydney, Australia, and I have to just share this with you. There's something you can look up if you want. But in Sydney, Australia, there was an article on the front cover of I think it was the Sydney Herald, Morning Herald, that basically showed that, no, it's the Daily Telegraph, pardon me. Daily Telegraph that showed that there was $60 billion of cash reserves sitting in the Catholic Church just in Sydney alone, just in Sydney. So here's a spiritual institution with 60 billion extra cash, and that's just one city, and there's multiple cities in Australia, and billions and billions and literally probably trillions of dollars of net worth sitting inside that religious institution. So if it was more blessed to give than to receive, then the person you're giving to is cursed because they don't get to give, they get to receive. So wisdom is having fair exchange, where giving and taking are in a transaction that's sustainable, that has equity, that's a win-win dynamic. A not zero-sum game, but that one that actually allows a fairness. This is the one that allows the greatest spiritual expression, where you feel appreciation and love for the working with them and doing business with them, and you also have the material rewards. So I don't see them as separate. I see them as one and the same thing. And I think that people deserve to put that in there. So if you have had conflict, if you had challenge with your spirituality, materiality conflict, which I hope you haven't, but if you have, let it go. Realize that true spirituality is basically maintaining fair exchange and serving people. Goods and services that were shown in economics are the same axiological language shown at the church services, where you were trying to be good and be at service. They are the same roots. They mean the same thing. They're in perfect equilibrium. Don't separate the two.
Thank you, Demartini. I know you often say that our outer world is a reflection of our inner world. So how do we get our inner world to reflect what we want in our outer world?
Well, I've said for many years that if we value ourselves, so will the world. If we believe in ourselves, so will the world. If we act the way we want to act, so will the world around us do so. Because the world exemplifies what we exemplify. It's a reflection. I'm a firm believer that if we take action, we'll see the world around us supporting our actions. If we hesitate, we'll see the world trying to help us or interfere with us in taking actions. So, if we live authentically according to our highest values, the world around us will make sure that we get what we want. I'm a firm believer, if you meet the world halfway, it'll meet you the other half. But you got to go and meet the world. Because when I'm setting goals, I have people for over the years in the breakthrough experience and individually consulting with people, they'll say, Dr. Demartini, I set a goal, but no matter what I do, I can't seem to get it. I can almost guarantee that the goal that they're setting, if they're giving up on it and they're not getting it, that's a goal that's not really important to them. Because you don't give up on things that are important to you. You just see things on the way. You see things as feedback. And if you readjust your course, you go above it, below it, around it, through it, you just keep going. But if you're giving up on it and you think, well, it didn't work for me, that means that the goal wasn't really important to you. It was a fantasy that you injected from some outside authority and that you admired, that you thought, oh, I should be more like them. And it's a little whim that you went after. And then you beat yourself up because you're not sustaining it, because you're designed to beat yourself up when you're not being yourself. and not setting goals that are congruent. So the world around you will reflect you when you're being reflective of yourself. But if you try to be somebody other than yourself, the world's going to kick you in the butt and make sure you see that. I really believe that we have what is called physiology, psychology, sociology, and theological feedback mechanisms that are trying to get us authentic. And our most authentic self is living congruently by our highest values. That's why setting priorities, as I mentioned in the beginning, is the key to great achievement, and making sure that you stick to what's really important to you and quit letting the world on the outside dictate the vision on the inside.
Thank you, Demartini. What if you're already doing what you love, and yet somehow crisis after crisis seems to get in the way of being able to focus on achieving the priority goals that you have planned?
Well, a crisis, anytime you perceive a crisis, you can almost guarantee you have a fantasy more so than a goal. I'm gonna really hit that and say that one again, because a goal is an objective. An objective is even-minded. It has the pros, the cons, the eases, the difficulties, the pleasures, the pains, the rewards, and the risks equally thought through with a foresight and a preemptive perception of it, and they planned it in advance. But if you set up a fantasy that's got benefits without drawbacks, a pleasure without a pain, you're automatically going to attract a crisis to get you to see both sides, to set goals that are really balanced. For all these years, I've been thinking, oh, I need to avoid those crises. And all through my 20s, I was into that, avoid those painful things and try to prevent those things. I now know that those things that you call crisis are actually feedback loops, feedback responses to help you refine your goal, to make sure it's truly objective, to make sure you strategically planned it with foresight, to make sure you've mitigated the risks, because the risks that you didn't mitigate are called the crises. And the crises are just the things that you chose not to see and plan in advance. And so if it stops you from doing it, then it isn't really high on your value. It's a fantasy again. So make sure that you go and set goals from your highest values and stick to your priorities and set goals that you plan out. That's the reason I mention things like master planning and those programs, because if a person will consider doing that, that'll help them plan things with foresight instead of hindsight. We learn by hindsight, we learn by trial and error, we learn like animals, telenomically. We plan by foresight, we learn like angels, and we see a bigger view, kind of an astronomical view. We see things, we see all the problems, we think about them, we think about what we can do to solve them in advance, we're prepared for them. There's no crisis. Crises are feedback mechanisms to let us know that the details have been left out of our plan, and we still have a bit of a fantasy, not a true objective that is a real goal. And as long as we hold and pursue fantasies, we're going to get hit by the nightmares. As long as we're pursuing one-sided outcomes, pleasures without pains, we're going to run into snags. Imagine this. Imagine going and being in a relationship with somebody, and you have a fantasy that they're going to be positive without negative, they're going to be supportive without challenge, they're going to be kind without cruel, they're going to be pleasant without unpleasant, they're going to be peaceful without wrathful, and you're expecting a one-sided outcome. And as you go and pursue it, and they start showing both sides of their nature, which they all have, then you're going to think each one of those things is betrayals and crises and challenges, etc., because your fantasy is creating that reality. But if you have an objective and know that every human being has a set of values, they live by it, things that support their values makes them nice, things that challenge their values tend to make them mean, they're kind, they're cruel, they're nice, they're mean, they're supportive, they're challenging, they're going to be positive, they're going to be negative, they're going to be peaceful, they're going to be wrathful, they're going to have both sides, then your goal is prepared now for reality. And now there's no crisis interacting with them. You have a real understanding of who they are. And the same thing with experiences and objectives. If you don't have a balanced orientation when you're striving for a goal, you don't really have a goal, you have a fantasy. And you're designed to be hit by crises and those responses because of that fantasy. So set real goals with real objectives that are balanced, that are congruent with your highest values, and think out in advance by planning with foresight all the possible downside and the risks. You don't really have an investment if you can't see the risks and know how to handle those risks. You have a speculation and a fantasy, and that is what gets people into crisis. Crisis is a friend, not an enemy. It's letting you know to go back and use your executive center to plan more thoroughly, mitigate the risk, and pursue something that's truly meaningful.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. And I think if everyone frames it from that perspective, it could really change people's lives. You often say that everything is on the way and that our life demonstrates our highest values. But you also say that we often subordinate to outside authorities or inject those values onto us from those authorities. As a result, we end up living their values instead of our own true expression and potential to achieve. Isn't this a bit of a contradiction?
Well, actually, I'm glad you asked that question because every decision we make is based on what we believe will give us the greatest advantage or disadvantage to our highest values. So every perception, decision, and action is based on our highest values. Where people run into snags is when they don't know what their highest values are, and they subordinate to somebody else, and they attempt, and the key is attempt, to live in those people's values, and have an expectation to climb a tree when they're a fish or to swim when they're a cat. So it's not that you're living outside your own values. You're not. You're actually making decisions and living according to your own, except in moments of extreme infatuation. But what's happening is you're still expecting to live outside your values and pursuing things that aren't yours and banging your head against the wall. Let me give you another example of this, hopefully make it more clear. When you're highly infatuated in a new relationship, let's say you just started a new relationship in the last 30 days, and you are enamored, and you think this is the hottest guy or the hottest girl, and you just think, whoa. And you're really infatuated, and you got them up on a pedestal. And you're walking on eggshells, fearing that, oh, don't screw this up. Don't lose these ones. This one's a good catch. You will sacrifice things that are important to you and start to do stuff you would normally never do in your life to be with them. You'll find yourself doing crazy stuff. I remember I was extremely infatuated with a very beautiful model when I was 20 years old, a Spanish model named Charlotte. I watched her. She came into Dr. Jurchik's microbiology class one day, and I was just blown away by this stunning girl. I started communicating with her. I started going out with her. I flirted with her. I went out with her, started dating her. The first weeks I was dating her, my normal routine before I met her was studying physics, chemistry, mathematics, physiology. I was pre-med at the time, and I was studying in diligence on philosophy. I mean, I had my head in books all day long, 16 to 18, 20 hours a day. I meet this girl, and all of a sudden, I'm stopping some of my studies, and I'm going and doing pom-pom dance training for the Kilgore Rangerettes with her, because that's what she did. She trained girls for halftime entertainment in football season. And I thought, okay, here I am doing pom-pom dancing. Well, I wasn't Dr. Demartini at the time, but you can imagine me doing that. That's pretty funny. Now, within about 3 or 4 weeks, after the infatuation was starting to wear off, and I was starting to resent that I was trying to be somebody I was not, and I wanted to be loved and appreciated for who I was, I started coming up with excuses and reasons why I wasn't going to be able to do that. I told her I had a test coming up. I said I need to study. And I took a risk of her rejecting me, and I got back to who I was. And the truth is, you want to be loved for who you are, but during extreme emotions and extreme infatuations, you sometimes will sacrifice what's important to you to try to live in the values of other people. Now, this is where we run into the snag. Instead of us trying to live by our own values, we try to live by other people's values. Pardon the ding dong in the back. Somebody's knocking on my door. But in the process of doing that, you can't sustain it. So it's unrealistic to expect yourself to be able to live in their values for long. You'll eventually resent it, and you'll go back to your own. So only during the first days or weeks of a new relationship can you actually go through there and do that. Thank you. Somebody just intruded into my room. But in the first few weeks of an infatuation in a relationship, you can do that, but you can't sustain it. But what people are attempting to do, they're going through life and they're actually infatuating with people that they think are more successful than them, smarter than them, have more money than them, better looking than them, more socially savvy than them, more physically fit than them, more spiritually aware than them. The second they compare themselves to other people, infatuate with them, and put them on pedestals and try to inject the values into their life and try to live in those values, they're attempting constantly, but not sustainable, attempting to live in these other people's values. And sometimes they'll even set goals that they think are important to them, that their life's not demonstrating as important to them. So in the process of doing that, That's where we run into the snag. But you will not sustain that. And so when people attempt to live in other people's values, they self-defeat. And they're designed to hear them inside themselves: should, ought to, supposed to, got to, have to, all the imperative languages, which are signs they're trying to live outside their values. You never should yourself from your own values. You only should yourself from other people's values. So if you have a little superego voice talking to you, I should be doing this. Why can't I do this? Why do I keep sabotaging? Why am I not staying focused? Why am I not disciplined? Because you're striving for something that isn't your highest value. You're striving for something that is somebody else's. And that's temporarily. And if you go through and have a whole bunch of people you keep subordinating to, you'll go from one to the other and temporarily do these infatuations and think that you're losing your identity in there. And what's happening, you're not clear about who you are and what your purpose is when you do that. This is where the snag is. So look carefully. That's why I want you to go back and do the value determination process. Look carefully of what it is that's really most important on your values. And don't waste your time subordinating. In the Breakthrough Experience program that I teach, one of the things that I guide people to do is learn how to own the traits of the greats. This is what I love helping people do. I wish I could right now take you through there and find out all the people that you're subordinating to. We could itemize each one of those and actually dissolve those, so you can give yourself permission to be living according to your own values. But as long as we minimize ourselves to other people, live in their shadows, inject their values, confuse ourselves with these infatuations, we're going to migrate from one fantasy after another and then beat ourselves up and wonder why we're not the high achiever. But the second we set real goals in real time that are congruent with our real values and not focused on comparing ourselves to other people, but going out and exemplify what's possible, we achieve. And we don't have this conflict. So there's really not a conflict in our behavior. It's our temporary, momentary attempts to live in other people's values that make us think that we're sabotaging. There is no real sabotage, but we always go back to our own values because that's what makes our decisions.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. Many people say that they feel the challenges that they've had to endure working towards achieving their dreams eventually wears them down. What can we do to ensure that the daily challenges we go through don't pile up and override our inspiration?
Well, I wish I could say something more original than what I'm about to say, but I think I've already said it. The challenges that we face that wear us down are perceptions that result from holding on to some degree of a fantasy. See, I'll use this analogy here. If you have a 12-year-old boy who loves video games and he can't wait to get up and do his video games in the morning, the second he conquers a video game, he wants his parents to buy him a more advanced video game, or he'll go and earn the money to go and get that next level game. He has a natural tendency when he's doing something that's meaningful and it's inspiring and it's highest on his values to go after the more challenging game. When you are living congruently with your higher values, you seek challenges that inspire you. I'm going to say it again. When you live congruently within your highest values and you're authentic and you're integral to who you really are, because your identity revolves around your highest values. Your purpose revolves around your highest values. Your maximum learning occurs around your highest values. Your maximum awareness occurs and influence occurs there. The second you set goals that are congruent there, you are inspired to take on challenge. You look for challenge that inspire you. But the second you inject the values of others, try to live in lower values. Try to be somebody you're not. Try to be the cat trying to swim. You are, because of the unfulfillment that you experience, you tend to go into your amygdala region and look for pleasure without pain. You look for ease without difficulty. You look for support without challenge. And you're wanting that dopamine fix. And the second the challenges that are inevitable there come, they're seen as distressful, they're seen as draining because you're holding on to a fantasy of a pleasure without a pain. And when the pains come and when the challenges come, you're wanting to avoid it. That's what drains us. It's the challenge is not what drains us. It's the perception of the challenge that drains us. People don't drain us. It's our perception of people that drain us. Because as long as we have a fantasy that people are supposed to be nice, never mean, the mean person drains us. The second we have a perception that things are supposed to be easy and not difficult, then our difficulties drain us. The second we perceive things are supposed to be supportive and not challenging, the challenges drain us. But the second we embrace life and embrace challenges that inspire us, instead of avoiding challenges that don't, we have no lack of energy. Our energy is infinite once we recognize that source. And our vitality is directly proportional to the vividness of our vision. And when we're living congruently, our executive center brings on an inspired vision, and we see it in our mind's eye. Plateaus in business occur when we're not congruent and we can't see our vision. Those with a vision flourish, and those without a vision perish, as they say. So setting goals. If you set goals that are congruent with your highest values and you pursue things that are truly meaningful, you won't be drained. You'll be encouraged and inspired and see challenges on the way, not in the way. And when you do, you'll be building momentum incrementally instead of sitting there and stopping and starting. So all the challenges are nothing but feedback mechanisms to get you back onto what's highest in priority and to set objective goals.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. How do you get over the feelings that perhaps your age or education level or perhaps something in your past history is blocking from being able to achieve?
Well, I'll tackle age first. I'm 63 going on 64, so I don't think that the age is anything that has anything to do with anything except your mind. I've certainly met people in their 80s and even 90s that are doing things. I met a woman 94 years old that climbed Mount Kilimanjaro and set a goal to do that, and had married 5 men and claimed that they all died having sex with her, which is pretty frisky, and had 30 years worth of goals and had accumulated a lot of money as the Black Widow with all the men, and was fully vivaciously going places, and got me and 2 other guys to take her out to a theater one night. So she was very clear about her objectives. So I don't think age is really a factor, but I do believe that there's a not chronological age, but psychological or physiological age could. In other words, if you're uninspired, you feel you're banging your head against the wall, you're going after fantasies and keep getting defeated by challenges and crises, you're going to end up draining yourself, and you're going to start to feel that everything's in the way, not on the way. And you're going to feel like life sucks, and you're going to lose your drive because you go, every time you're setting up a fantasy, you don't get it. So why bother? And you get indifferent and sometimes depressed and deluded. And depression is a comparison of your current reality to a fantasy you keep holding on to. So as long as you keep striving for that which is not really achievable, of course you're going to be drained. And then you're going to think chronologically that somehow that's affecting it. But I really believe that you have the capacity, ripe into age. The mentor that inspired me when I was 17 years old, Paul Bragg, was up in age and doing extraordinary feats. And the person that followed in his footsteps, Jack LaLanne, in his 90s were doing amazing feats. So I don't think it's just chronological age. I think it's psychological, physiological age as a result of our perceptions and our congruency. If we set goals that are congruent, we'll go farther and we'll have plenty of vitality. Some people still go, I don't know how you go. I did a program this weekend and I in Perth here, and I did a breakthrough experience, and I went from 8 in the morning to 2 in the morning. And then we got back in the morning, we were back up again. So, if you're inspired by what you do, you don't notice things like that. Now, when it comes to knowledge, there's absolutely nothing stopping us with the internet today. There's absolutely nothing stopping us from gaining specialized knowledge. I'm sitting here learning every single day and studying and gaining knowledge every day online. And I'm reading books on a regular basis and magazine articles. I constantly feed my mind. So there's absolutely no reason why any education has to stop you. And formal education doesn't guarantee that that's what's going to make you or break you in success. There's tons of people that are super successful. Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, a lot of people out there that do not have formal education and have done extraordinary things. So that doesn't mean that that's going to make or break you. It doesn't hurt to have formal education in most cases, but that's not the key. The key is your commitment to learn and gain specialized knowledge, or surround yourself with specialized knowledge. You don't have to know it all. Surround yourself with people that know the things that you don't know. And there's no reason you can't go places. But if you do gain specialized knowledge and surround yourself with people that also have specialized knowledge, you build even more momentum. So get to studying, start learning. And just know that anything you want to learn and retain and apply, if you link it to your highest values and ask how studying this is going to help me fulfill what's most meaningful to me, you'll increase the probability of seeing and reading it and holding on to it, retaining it, etc. I linked everything that I ever studied over all these years and 45 years to the evolution of human consciousness and maximizing human awareness potential and doing something extraordinary in the world. Every time I read, no matter what field, every discipline from cosmology to atomic physics, to chemistry, to psychology, to anthropology, doesn't matter what it is, even if it's studying electronics or mathematics, I link them all to how does it help a human individual or you or me fulfill our highest values and go and do something extraordinary with our life. And I've yet to find an ology or discipline that I can't devour and learn and absorb and apply when I do that. So link whatever you're studying to your highest values. Make sure you sit down and ask yourself this question: how is whatever age I have, how is it at my advantage, not my disadvantage? How does it help me get my dreams? How is it not interfering with it? And ask that question, and you'll find that there's nothing in the way except your own perceptions of what's in the way.
Thank you, Demartini. That gives a hope, I'm sure, to a lot of people, both young and old. What would you say if you don't know what your vision is? What do you do to gain clarity on that vision?
Well, your executive center automatically will see the vision if you get congruent. So the first thing is go back to the values, that same thing I mentioned in the beginning. Go back to the values and get clear about what's really valuable to you, and start filling your day with the highest priority actions. The moment you do, I assure you, you'll feel the difference. Your executive center will come online and you'll see a vision of what's possible. Your purpose and your vision spontaneously emerge when you're congruent. I've done that in the breakthrough experience, which I've done, gosh, 1,000 something times now. I've demonstrated that week after week after week. When people are congruent, they see it. They see it, they get clear, they do it. And I tell people to start with what you know and let what you know grow. When I was 17 years old, I was a long-haired hippie guy with a beard and living in Hawaii. And I met Paul Bragg, and he's the one that said, get it clear on a mission. And I thought, well, what the hell is that? I didn't even know what the word meant. And he said that, what it is you want to dedicate your life to. And that made sense to me. And at the time, because I had learning problems, I wanted to overcome them, and I wanted to learn how to teach. And I thought in those days that teachers were intelligent people. So I thought, okay, I want to be intelligent. I want to be a teacher. So I wrote down what I thought I wanted to do, what I knew. And I started with what I knew and let what I know grow. So I tell people, start with what you know and let what you know grow. So I knew that I wanted to travel the world. That was something I was absolutely certain about, that I wanted to travel the world. I knew that I wanted to learn, and I had a thirst now for knowledge. I knew that I wanted to share what I learned. So I wrote down teaching. I knew that I wanted to study these things called universal laws, because when he spoke about them, they were like absolutely tear-jerking. I want to know what those are. I want to know the most magnificent laws of the universe. I knew that I wanted to travel. I knew I wanted to teach. I knew I wanted to learn. I knew I wanted to understand the body and healing, because I had a health problem. My voids were driving my values. And I knew what was missing in my perception, and I knew what was important in my life. And I started there. And I just wrote down that, not in this beautiful flowery phrase or paragraph, just wrote down what it is. And then I played with it and edited it and put it into a sentence, and then a paragraph, and then a larger paragraph, then 2 paragraphs. And I kept evolving it, kept adding to it. Start with what you know and let what you know grow, and quit comparing it to other people. Quit comparing it to your past or your future. Just right now, ask yourself, what is it that your life demonstrates that you spontaneously do every day, that nobody has to remind you to do, that you're inspired and love doing, and you have evidence, your life has evidence of it, because your values are being revealed in your life. Go through and do the value determination. Look at what your life's demonstrating. Stick to what's absolutely certain and build it. And don't expect it overnight. Allow it to unfold. And every time you read it and refine it and read it and refine it, like I've done 70 times in 45 years, you just get clearer and clearer about what you're dedicated to. And every once in a while, you'll have tweaking changes in your life that'll tweak it, and you'll want to refine it. You read it and refine it, read it, refine it, keep it fresh, keep it inspired, and keep it going. And you'll know what you're up to. I'm clear about my mission. I don't have any questions about that. I've been doing it 45 years. Some people say, well, could it change? Sure, it could change. You could have a cataclysmic event occur or micro little changes that can modify it. But the basic thing is an expression of what you value most. That's what your purpose is. Your purpose and most meaningful thing in life is the highest value. I always say your purpose is the most effective and efficient pathway to fulfill the greatest amount of voids, the greatest amount of values. I love doing that. I love helping you do that. At the breakthrough experience, one of the things I love doing is helping people get that. Because if they get that, they don't need motivation on the outside anymore. I don't need motivation to do what I'm doing, that I love doing. And so you want to be able to live beyond motivation, inspired from within. You want an intrinsic value life, not an extrinsically driven life.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. And can you surmise for us the elements we'd be wise to remember and implement in order to discover and awaken our hidden power to achieve? This is the last question. Summarize all the elements we'd be wise to remember and implement in order to discover and awaken our hidden power to achieve.
Well, I think since I've said them, I'll just summarize them. One is go online and do the value determination process and start getting clear about what you really value. Two, ask yourself truly, what are the highest priority actions you can do each day to fulfill what that highest value is? Because your purpose revolves around that. Get down to the highest priority of the priority of the priorities. Start metricing what you do, because if you find yourself saying you want to do something and you're not doing it and you're not consistently inspired to do it, somehow you're lying to yourself about what that value is. Get clear about it. That's why I want you to do the value determination more than once. And look at what your life demonstrates. Do self-inspection, metric it, and then delegate. Because if you're not delegating, you're going to be trapped. I couldn't be able to do what I do today, traveling the world and researching, writing, traveling, and teaching, if I didn't delegate. I have people around the world that help me fulfill my life. And hopefully I help them fulfill theirs through delegation. That way they have a career that they get to do while I get to do what I love to do. That's exactly the goal to do. That allows the economy to flourish and allows people to have fulfillment in life. And then make sure that you're documenting what you're doing and getting the metrics and document what you're grateful for. If you're grateful for what you have, you tend to have more motivation and drive inside, internal drive to achieve. And when you actually do it, I keep records of my achievements every single day. I'm neurotic about it, and people think, well, that's insane. You know, you have 4,000 friggin' pages of documents, 10-point print of everything you get to do in a day. And people go, that's kind of crazy. But when they look at it, the series of volumes, there's 23 volumes now, of all the things that I have the opportunity to do, the people I get to meet, the places I get to go, the seminars I get to present, the media I get to do, the opportunities to serve people, the consulting I get to do, the relationship dynamics that I get to experience, the travels, the places I go, the wonders of the world I get to see. I document all those things because when I'm documenting what I'm grateful for, I get more to be grateful for, and I get more inspired to want to achieve more and do more with life. So I'm a firm believer in documenting that. And sit there, and instead of comparing your day to other people, compare your actions to your own highest values and priorities of the day. Focus on that. They found out that people that are in the sports and the Olympics, and I've gotten the opportunity to work with a lot of them, if you go and if they compare themselves to somebody else out on the field, on the track, or in the swimming or whatever they're doing, if they're comparing themselves to them and watching them and comparing themselves and judging them relative to them, they just lost the gold medal. They have to go by what is highest in priority through their metrics that have been proven to work and stick to strategy, not comparisons of other people. Because you cannot be focused on what's highest in priority if you're distracted by comparisons of the outside world. So stick to what's priority. If you want to achieve something great, follow these principles. That's why I love doing it. I love helping people achieve, and I love to help you do that. That's what these webinars are about. By actually following what I'm sharing, you'll get to do the same things that the people that have been to the breakthrough experience and other people who I've gotten to work in consulting one-on-one with get to do. So if you're ready to go and do that, let me help you do that. That's what these programs are for. Go and watch this again and again and again, and come to the breakthrough experience or come to some of the other pro master planning or whatever, and let's go and make sure this thing happens. You know, we can sit there and come up with excuses of why we're not doing what we want in life. But if you take actions and you do the things that are proven to work, and you have some guidance, maybe some mentorship to do it, and develop foresight and planning and foresight and sticking in your executive center, there's no way you're not going to achieve. And you're going to have, at the end of the day, you're going to say thank you. And you deserve to achieve in all areas. You deserve to empower your finances, your career, your relationship, your social life. All areas deserve to be empowered. And I love to do that. So I want to help you do that. So find a way of applying these principles, coming and joining us, the programs or whatever, and let's break bread together and let's make it happen.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. And as you've just mentioned, you do the breakthrough experience in over 60 countries around the world to date. And as you mentioned earlier, you present the program every weekend. Could you explain to us a little bit further what you present in this program every weekend?
Well, the breakthrough experience, which I've done 1,030 times, I think now, this program is my attempt to do what Paul Bragg did for me. without realizing what that gentleman did, I have not needed motivation on the outside since. I've been inspired from within. And for many years, I thought that's how everybody functioned. And I realized that's not how they all function. Many people are subordinating to the outer world, injecting the values of others, distracting themselves, devaluing themselves, losing energy, not staying focused, starting and then stopping, running out of energy. I mean, all kind of things. Going into addictive behaviors, distractions. I mean, all kind of things. And I realized that there's tools and there's principles and there's methods that I've been blessed to acquire and build and create that I know can help them. And the breakthrough experience is that program that does that. I've been doing it about 40 plus times a year for 29 years. And it's powerful. What it is the first morning section of that program, from about 8 till about 1-ish, 1:30-ish, is the principles. And these are solid principles that I am certain will stand the test of time, that I've gleaned from studying over 30,000 texts, from great philosophers to mystics to theologians to scientists to people that are in almost every field, business, finance, everything, and distilled it down to what were the core principles and the core methods that have basically helped maximize human awareness. And it's shocking. I mean, I have people at the end of the morning section. I said, how many of you learned something you could have gone your whole life with and not learned? And they all put their hands up. I said, and how many have been engaged in the morning? I mean, we literally go from 8 till 1:15 or 1:30 sometimes straight through. But usually I have one break during that, and that's it. It's full on, and it's filled with information. And you have a manual that has all that information in it, but I go through and elaborate and go on to details and explain things and questions, and we clarify it. I want those principles understood, because in the afternoon when I come back from lunch, and by the way, we also determine your values there. We determine what the most common distractions that you face. We explain what fear is, what fantasy is, what pride is, what shame is, how we judge people, how we love people, what equity is. I mean, it's a very thorough morning. What values are, how to determine values, how they impact our life, why we compare to other people, and how we judge people, and how we distract ourselves, and how we lose our power, and what is the source of energy that allows us to do extraordinary things, and how to keep that energy and maintain it. Because I mean, people don't know where I get my energy, and it's very simple. I'm just applying the principles that I'm going to share in the breakthrough. And then in the afternoon, we're going to do the Demartini method, which I believe is one of the most powerful methods on human transformation that's available today. And you're going to, when you'll go through it, it's a very methodical, scientific, very specific series of questions to help your unconscious become conscious, so you can see things fully and not judge things and have things around you run you, but to actually see things from a balanced perspective where you're poised and you're present and you have gratitude and you have love and you're certain and you're present and you're inspired again and you're enthused about taking action. So you're in your executive center where you see the vision and you can take action. So that is a very powerful program. And we work all afternoon learning the method. I don't want to just give you a theory. I want you to actually apply it. I want you to know how to take any emotional experience, baggage from your past or current, and be able to dissolve it. So you're not distracted long-term with it. It may come up, you'll know what to do with it. You'll know how to dissolve a fear, a guilt, an infatuation, a resentment, a pride, a shame, a grief. You'll know how to dissolve all the comparisons that you do that are distracting you, all the impulses of the amygdala, all the instincts of fears. All those we're going to show and put those into context and dissolve them. And it's a methodical thing. And I was there till 2 a.m. working with people this week, because I don't want anything but a result. I'm very methodical on it, and I stay with people until we get a result. And I want to show them how to take the most outrageously distracting and painful thing in their life and turn it into an opportunity to go and build fuel and do something amazing with their life with it. So that they can do that, they can take anything that happens to them and use it to their advantage. Then on Sunday, we come back and we define exactly what we want to do. We start with what we know, and we know what we know grow. We put what I call the love list together. We talk about objectivity. We talk about setting goals narcissistically or altruistically, which undermine our goals and achievements. We talk about setting goals from our heart that are inspiring, that are congruent, that have an executive function, and so we can increase our achievements, so we can manifest. And then I go through and show you how to manifest things methodically with a formula that I've used for 45 years. And I show you how to dissolve grief for anything that you think you've lost. If you think you've lost money, how to dissolve the grief. If you think you've lost loved ones, dissolve grief. Thought somebody broke up with you, a client left you, if somehow you started to go after something, you gave up on it, and you're beating yourself up, how to dissolve all that. So you're not letting emotions run you, and you're letting your poised, centered state run you. I show you also how to own the traits of the greats. So you're not going to minimize yourself to people on the outside. You're going to basically compare yourself not to others, but to be able to compare your daily actions to your own goals. And this is very powerful. That's one of the most powerful exercises in the course, owning the traits of the greats. So you can take the most powerful people, instead of being intimidated by them, instead of minimizing yourself with them, you can identify what you see in them inside you. You're no longer too humble to play in the same field of possibility. You give yourself permission to play a bigger game. And I want to help you do that. That's why I love doing the breakthrough experience. People say, you don't have to do this, John. Why do you do this so often? Why are you so neurotic about it? I said, because I get to watch people open their heart, have tears of gratitude for their own magnificence, for what they can do. And I want to see that for you. I'm absolutely certain that can happen. I know if I work with you, I know I can help you through and navigate through the emotional obstacles that you've got in your head that's stopping you from doing the next thing, the next step in your life. If you want to achieve more, there's a way of doing it. And the breakthrough experience can help you. I'm absolutely certain about that. I've got a good track record. That 29 years of doing it, about 90,000 people have been through it. There's been people of all walks of life, from celebrities have been there, sports personalities been there, people in government, people in business, people, entrepreneurs, financiers, people in every walk of life, young people, old people. I've had them from almost every age. And I'm absolutely certain, no matter where you are, if you're plateaued or you're not clear and you want to get clear, you want to break through a plateau, you want to go to the next level, if you want to get all of a sudden shift your values. I show people how to shift their values so they can have wealth in their life that they've been holding back. Or they basically have an unconscious motive to avoid pains for past relationships. I show them how to dissolve that so they can have the relationship that they want. I'm not sure what you're coming there for, but I just know that whatever it is, we'll have a tool for it. Because I'm going to show you how to empower all 7 areas of life in there. The tool of equanimity that I'm going to give you and equity is going to apply in every area of your life. So if you're interested in expanding any one or all of those areas, which I can't imagine you not wanting to, come to the breakthrough experience. I want to help you do it. I want to help you get what you want to get in life, and I know I can. So the breakthrough experience is inspiring to me. I've been doing it, like I say, for 29 years and over 1,030 times, 1,030 times now. So I look forward to doing it and help you get what you want in life. That's all. You deserve it.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. And you've got an extensive curriculum when it comes to put a lot of effort into the research and the information into these programs. Many people don't understand the value of studying. Can you share with the audience why you believe it's one of the wisest investments for a person to make in their own lives?
The studying, you cut out for a second. You said studying?
Yes, the investments into themselves, studying and in personal development, why you believe that it's one of the wisest investments a person can make into their own lives.
Well, I'll be glad to give you that. When I was in professional school, I know that I attended more seminars, read more books, wrote more articles and books, watched more audios or listened to more audios and watched more videos than anybody in my class. There was absolutely no doubt about it. And now, let's see, 36 years since I graduated from that class, as I meet some of the few who are still alive, some are not even alive from my class, and some have gone off and done other things. But the ones that I've met, I'm absolutely certain that the pursuit of that personal development gave me a competitive edge. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind. And it's interesting, when I was in school, the ones that did it the most are the ones that seem to need it the least. And the ones that needed it the most are the ones that did it the least. And I noticed that the professionals that went on to do it usually became the achievers, and the ones that didn't usually became the bitchers that joined the associations, that got into groups to protect themselves from their frustrations from the outer world. And the people that were the leaders were the ones that kept personally developing. If you're not growing on the inside, you're not going to grow on the outside. So I'm a firm believer, if you're not expanding yourself, you're going to shrink. As long as you're green, you're growing. As soon as you're ripe, and you rot. And so, yeah, I study every single day. I mean, daily. I don't. I'm either reading a book, or I'm reading online, or I'm reading a magazine article, or I'm doing something, and I believe that it's wise to learn or learning from people, mentorship. Yesterday, I met with a very bright man, very sharp man, is in the financial industry. Two nights before that, I sat with one of the queens from Africa and started talking about emerald mining and copper mining and learning about that industry. I have the opportunity to meet amazing people, and one way or the other, either by mentorship, association with people that are doing things in life that are excelling, learning from them directly and as mentors, or going to classes and being taught. Sometimes I sneak in when I'm in a hotel. I look around on the boards to see if there's any seminars that I might glean some insight on. I'll just walk in, and they'll sometimes tell me you got to leave, but I'll go in and just see it and find out what it's about and check on it. Sometimes I'll just pay for it and join in on it if I have the time. If not, I'm going to have my head in a book, and I'm going to learn. Because you only have so many books you're going to read in your life. You might as well prioritize it. You only have so many days in your life. You might as well prioritize the people you hang out with, the books that you read, the things that you do, the priorities that you live by, the people you associate with. And so, I think it's essential. Personal development is inseparable from great achievement. If you want to achieve, the people I know that are the greatest achievers, there's a gentleman in Sydney, Australia that runs a restaurant and kind of a little empire of restaurants. The guy is absolutely a personal development master. I mean, he's constantly focusing and learning and picking people's brains and stuff like that. And he's the one that's the highest achiever. So personal development, studying and learning is to me a daily activity. I can't imagine living without it. I wouldn't want to go through life without it. Otherwise, you'd be stagnant. In any area of your life, you're not empowering, you're disempowering. In any area of your life, you're not empowering, other people are going to overpower. And if you're not growing, you're going to decay. I met with a gentleman the other day that retired at age 50-something years old, 52. 3 weeks into that retirement, he goes, whoa, this is not what I thought. Boring. And literally within 3 more weeks, he was back in to start another company and learning and starting to grow and competing and doing a new industry. Because you just can't. You'll just decay and you'll die if you're not doing something that's expanding. So personal development, or being development, I could say it, is what I'm about. And I'm very grateful. And I have a great life, I think, because I don't stop learning. So take advantage of the learning process from mentors, from seminars, from books, everything. These webinars, grab it all. I mean, I bet today I've watched 45 video clips since early this morning. 45 video clips already, and a lot of reading, a lot of articles.
Well, thank you, Dr. Demartini. And I would like to, at this stage, also share with the audience the opportunities they have to come and learn from you and to participate in their own personal development. So the details we have, if you'd like to really transform your life, then come and spend the time with Dr. Demartini. Dr. Demartini has prepared a very special offer for you. If you click on the link to the right inside of your screen right now, so don't hesitate, book on this, as it's a limited time offer for webinar participants only. If you click on the link to the right hand side and you book on the webinar, book the event in this webinar, you get an extra 10% discount off the current advertised price for the breakthrough experience. Plus, when you book, you'll receive a free gift valued at $400, Dr. Demartini's online module, Inspired Destiny. So when you click on the link to the right-hand side of your screen, you'll choose your country. Currently, we've got a few countries on offer, including Australia, Canada, Ireland, New Zealand, UK, USA, and South Africa. So all you have to do is select the flag on the right-hand side or the left-hand side of the screen and select the course that you would like to attend. So for the most powerful life solution seminar on the planet, created by Dr. Demartini, the Breakthrough Experience is a culmination of 44 years of interdisciplinary research, and where you're going to be learning 2 very powerful processes: the Demartini method, as you've heard Dr. Demartini talk about in this webinar, and the Demartini value determination process, which she has also spoken about in this webinar. And their practical applications to solving problems and issues in your life, balancing your emotions, and expanding your life for fulfillment and potential. The breakthrough experience will provide you with powerful solutions to help you resolve any fear you may be having, depression, resentment, anger, intimidation, low self-esteem, guilt, grief, or anxiety of any emotion that you would have to love, stop running your life. So you're going to learn how to solve challenges, build relationships, clarify your purpose, and achieve goals, and much, much more in the next 2 days. If you want to take your professional and personal life to a whole new level, you need to click on the link to the right-hand side and find out what's going to transform and stop things being in the way to on the way. Again, this is a limited time offer for the webinar participants only. So don't hesitate. Click on the link now and book to come and see at the Breakthrough Experience. Dr. Don Demartini, is there anything you would like to add?
Well, yeah, just wherever you are right now, whatever time it is, first of all, thank you for being with me. Because if I do this webinar and there's nobody out there, I'm not serving a purpose. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to work with you. I love doing that. I'm the kind of guy that will work. I've worked till 5 a.m. working with people. I did a breakthrough experience in France, Paris, France one time. We worked till 5 a.m. We had 78 people attending. I worked with every single one of them to make sure that they got what to do. At the end of it, nobody left. They all stayed there to watch down to the very last one. It was so engaging, watching transformations occur and breaking through limitations and getting clear about it. I love doing that. I'd like to do it with you and for you, because I know that if you come to the program, the Breakthrough Experience, I know you're going to say thank you. I know you're going to learn something you're not going to learn anywhere else. I know you're going to get original information that I've been developing over these years. You're going to meet some amazing people. You're going to break through some issues. It's hard to describe exactly what is in breakthrough. I've been trying to fully describe it for 30 years almost. But I just know you're going to say thank you. And I know that we could break through things together. And I want to help you. I want to work with you and let you do something extraordinary with your life. And when you set goals that are congruent with what's truly important to you, and you access this congruency state, you'll know the difference. And you'll know that you don't need motivation anymore. You'll know how to be inspired from within. So come to the Breakthrough Experience. Let me help you. I really look forward to working with you live. Come up to me and introduce yourself so I get to know you more personally. And then let's work together on getting the goal that you want. If I was told by Zig Ziglar when I was 20 years old, if you help other people get what you want to get in life, you get what you want to get in life. I believe that's true. I've seen it work in my life. So I want to help you. I want to help me. I want us to all get what we want. I tell people you want to do as much altruistic activity as you can to serve as many people as you can. And you want as much narcissistic wins and opportunities and rewards in life as you can. I want you to have all. I want you to have to be what you really want to be. And I don't think you can spend 26 hours with me, 24 to 26 hours, sometimes 27 or more hours, without moving in that direction. There's no way. I'm absolutely certain you're going to grow and you're going to get something out of the Breakthrough Experience. So come and join me. Let me help you. We'll work together and we'll do something extraordinary together at the Breakthrough Experience.
Thank you, Dr. Demartini. I just want to repeat the offer for the audience one more time. So if you click on the link to the right-hand side of the screen, you're going to get not only a 10% discount of the current advertised price of the Breakthrough Experience, plus when you book, you're going to get your free gift valued at $400, the Inspired Destiny module. That alone is worth your ticket price to booking, and it'll make sure that you're really prepped and ready to go to maximize the benefits of the time that you spend with Dr. Demartini. You're not spending time with a facilitator. Dr. Demartini will be in the room, hands-on with you, driving you through to get that result yourself. So you're really going to get that intensive experience that you need to break through any of the issues in your life. And I can personally, from my own life, only really recommend that you do it because it's helped to transform myself and my relationships so dramatically. And for that, I'm forever indebted to Dr. Demartini and the work that he does and the support that the team provides. So the team is on standby. The Dr. Demartini team is on standby and prepared to answer any of your questions. They often stay late after the webinars and work tirelessly to make sure that every question is answered and that we get feedback to every single person that needs help along their journey. So thank you very much, Dr. Demartini, for your time. Thank you to the audience. We've learned a lot during this webinar, as we always do. Thank you, John.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Great. Thank you. So click on that link, and we look forward to seeing you at the Breakthrough Experience. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.